Hi y'all, welcome to Petite Weaver Crafts episode 12. I'm recording here today on August 15, 2016. Thank you so much for all returning viewers and all the new viewers that are joining me today. Hi, welcome to Petite Weaver Crafts episode 12. I'm recording here today on August 15, 2016. Thank you so much for new viewers and returning viewers. This is a video podcast about knitting, spinning, weaving, sewing, and pretty much all the crafty things that I can get myself into. As always, you can find show notes at petiteweavercrafts.blogspot.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Periscope as Petite Weaver, and we also have a lovely Ravelry group under Petite Weaver Crafts. So first up is Stash. So recently I got tagged in a giveaway / coupon code post by Dyed in the Wool. Thanks so much, Twee, for the enabling. And I used the coupon code to purchase my first ever sock blank. So here is the sock blank. Isn't that gorgeous? So this particular sock blank is a double knit sock blank. So it's actually 2 strands of yarn knit together and then dyed over. I picked a double knit sock blank because, as you guys seen before, I like to knit my socks 2 at a time. And with the double knit one, you can knit 2 pretty identical pairs of socks since both strands of yarn are going through the same dye process. But yeah, isn't this sock blank gorgeous? I'm very excited to work with this. So this sock blank is 100 grams or 460 some odd yards, and it's a merino nylon base, so just basic sock yarn, and the colorway is called Curve. Yeah, that's it from my stash. I was very good this week. Next up, I have a finished object. So I showed you guys these socks last week. So this is a pair of Hermione's Everyday Sock. You can see the texture pattern on the top of the foot and on the leg portion of this sock. I did contrast heels and toes with Cascade Heritage Black, and the body of the sock I used Deborah Norville's Serenity sock base, which is a merino bamboo base. And I actually used a 50-gram ball of yarn and got a pair of socks out of it. The legs of these socks are about 8 inches high, so it hits about mid-calf for me. I really love the way these turned out, and it's nice to know that I can squeak out a pair of full-size socks for me out of a 50-gram ball of yarn. Let's get started on my whips. I have been a little bit obsessive this week. So I showed you guys my Asana shawl last week. I was probably about 20% when I left you guys last, and now I'm up to 75% on this shawl. So if you guys missed the episode last week, the Asana shawl is part of Helen Stewart's Shawl Society, which is a pattern subscription, and she releases 1 shawl pattern a month for 6 months, starting, I believe it was in July or so. This Asana shawl is shawl number 3. The talisman shawl behind me is shawl number 1. I skipped shawl number 2. So the Asana shawl is another crescent-shaped shawl, which kind of has a garter section at the top, and at the bottom is lace plus beads. So this is my first time doing beaded lace. You can see here I use a gold color size 6 bead with a silver lining, and I thought it paired really nicely with this kind of sherbety orange colored lace weight yarn. So this was my first time doing beaded knitting, and oh my goodness, it's so much fun. It was a little bit kind of strange, and it felt really weird for about the first row or 2, but once I kind of got into the project a little bit more, it was so fun and addicting. I really just wanted to put my next bead on and then the next bead on. So the method that I use to put my beads on my work is the floss method. So I use these giant flosser things, and then I take a single one, as you can see here, and I just trim off that top loop part, and I thread an end of this little plastic thing through the loop of yarn that I wish to place the bead on, and then put both ends through the bead. The great thing about this method is that you don't have to worry about whether or not you have the right crochet hook size, and you don't have to worry about splitting the yarn, because as long as you can get this little plastic threader through the stitch properly, you can fit it through almost any bead without having to worry about any inconsistencies in the manufacturing of your bead. The ones that I'm using were pretty deep stash for my craft hoarding, let's be real. And I purchased them from Fire Mountain Gems. They're not the best quality. I think I've had in a regular size hole like maybe 1 out of every 50 or so. So it's not bad, but I don't really have to worry about sorting those out. Even if a crochet hook wouldn't fit all the way through, this little floss method would. And if I, and these things, and a pack of these are like a few bucks, so I don't have to worry about losing this little plastic flosser. But yeah, it's been pretty great. Yeah, I've been really enjoying working on this shawl so far. And if you can see this white colored yarn running through my lace patterning, this is a lifeline. I kind of put them in after every lace section, just in case I kind of mess up that foundation row. And the way that I add my lifelines, so I use Haya needles, and with my cables, there's a little hole. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little hole at where my cable connectors are. And so as I'm knitting a rest row or a plain row of stockinette or something like that, I thread a super smooth yarn through the hole and just knit all the way across. And then that places a lifeline. So just in case I really messed it up, I can always pull all my stitches off, rip it all the way back to the lifeline, and then pick up all the stitches from the lifeline and then start over pretty much. But I haven't had to rip back, thank goodness, knock on some wood, because the pattern's very well written and the lace charts are very easy to follow. And I think that the lace patterning is fairly intuitive. Everything kind of gets centered on very obvious repeats. So yeah, I've really enjoyed knitting this project so far, and I cannot wait to see what the final product looks like. I wasn't quite sure what I would be pairing this lovely shawl with. It's so fancy with the beads and the lace and everything, and it seems so delicate. I wasn't quite sure what kind of outfit I would even possibly pair this with. So I was thinking, and then I remembered I have some lovely fabric that I think might go well with this. So if you guys are returning viewers, you might have seen this fabric before. So this is a lovely watercolored Hawaiian print fabric. I have been planning on making a dress out of this for a friend's wedding in Maui for October. So I think, I don't know how much I'll need a shawl, but you know, by the ocean it might be breezy and the ceremony is in the afternoon, so it might get a little cool. I don't know, but I just thought this color, this lovely orange sherbety color, would really accent the birds of paradise and little orange flowers on this fabric. Yeah, let me know, guys, if you think these two would go together pretty well. So this fabric, if you guys missed it previously, is from Spoonflower. Spoonflower is a print-on-demand service. for fabrics of all types. They have everything from jersey knits to crepe de chine, canvas, etc. And this pattern is designed by a lovely internet friend of mine, and she has so many gorgeous, gorgeous watercolor designs. And I messaged her privately and asked if she would possibly post one of her tropical prints. She was so wonderful and did post it onto Spoonflower, so you guys should check out her shop. She has a lot of other lovely, lovely prints. But yeah, so this was the one that I picked out. The wedding is in November, so I still have some time to make my dress, but now I might have a potential shawl to pair with it. So yeah, moving on. I also started another project. So this pattern has been going around Instagram and the podcast world for a few weeks now. So this is the Pinwheel Scrap Blanket by Mina Phillips. She is another video podcaster. Her podcast is called the Knitting Expat Podcast. And as always, I will link all this information in the show notes below. But she designed a lovely pinwheel scrap blanket that is that you piece together square by square. So the great thing about this design is that you don't have to work on a giant project and lug that project around all the time. So if you guys have been watching for a while, I loved my Cozy Memories blanket. But now that it's a little bit warmer, I haven't wanted to have this giant, knit blanket on my lap as I'm working. So I've been resisting this pattern, but I keep on seeing it pop up on Instagram, and I had to join in on the fun. It is actually really, really neat. It had a new technique that I hadn't done before, German short rows. So that was a fun new technique to learn. And so each one of these triangles uses up a little less yarn than one of my Cozy Memory squares. So I've been using all the scraps from my scrap blanket for these triangles. But yeah, the plan is to kind of have a color theme for each square, and then I'll piece them all together at the end and try to, finagle the layout so it doesn't look too crazy. So for this blanket, I've been using kind of a light, dark kind of motif on the pinwheel so that it stands out. So you can use your phone's camera filter settings to help you select contrasting colors. In my case, I have an iPhone, and in the upper right hand corner here, you can see that there's a kind of 3 symbol filter button. If you tap on that, you can choose from the filters that are preset on your phone. For these purposes, we will be selecting the mono filter, and this is monochromatic filter. And as you can see, the contrast between my dark and lights are pretty stark. And even though I have different colored balls here, they don't all have enough contrast with each other. And you can rearrange the colors of yarn that you have until you select one that you feel has enough of a contrast to the one next to it, and help sort your colors that way. This is also very good to use for Fair Isle techniques as well. Since the background and the foreground colors need to have enough of a color difference that the color work will stand out in the end. So here you see 3 balls of yarn that have almost the same intensity. They all kind of look like a medium toned color. But once you turn off the filter, you can see that they're actually 3 very different colors that you would think would have enough contrast to the one next to it. But in color intensity wise, it's actually not enough of a contrast. Alrighty, last up for works in progress. So I showed you guys the sock blank earlier, and I did finish my other pair of socks that I had on the needles. So you can't have naked needles, right? Always have a project going. Following my no naked needles rule, I casted on another pair of socks. So as you can see, I'm pulling off from the sock blank here. This pattern, it's a little bit hard to see with this yarn. Maybe I didn't pick the best pattern, but it is a but it is a broken rib stitch, and the pattern is called the Syncopation Socks. It is a free pattern on Ravelry, so I'll make sure to link it here. But yeah, it's knitting, this yarn is knitting up super fun, and you can see that since it is a double knit sock blank, these socks are almost identical in the coloration. You can see kind of this patch of stripy area. It matches the bottom one here. So this is the back of the sock where it's all stockinette. And here is the front. Yeah, I don't think the patterning on this is showing up super well. But that might be because the yarn, as you pull it off the sock blank, is like ramen noodles. Since the yarn is kind of noodly as you're undoing the sock blank, I can't quite keep a great tension on the yarn. So even my stockinette side feels a little bit more textured and uneven than I usually have for my socks. Yeah, hopefully it all blocks out at the end. As you can see, they're completely different from each other. But still both very gorgeous. I'm having a great time knitting on this project, and we shall see how it all turns out at the end. But yeah, that's it for me this week. I have been completely obsessed with my new shawl. I've been working on that almost exclusively. So until next week, you guys, hopefully I have a little bit more to show you. See y'all next week. Thanks for watching. Bye!